So now that it seems that Hello Games is done with the process of fixing the bugs, getting the crashes out of the way, and finishing up with the support, and now are moving on to more of a content and improvement model for the game, I thought I would take some time and scour the internet to find out what would really improve the game. What would people enjoy in No Man's Sky as an improvement? So I looked at places like NeoGAF, Twitter, Reddit, and of course came together with my own conclusions to put up the 5 things that I think would improve No Man's Sky. So let's get to point 1. Let's take the training wheels off of No Man's Sky. I feel like I'm kind of in a baby-proofed world where there's no clear and present danger. Everything is too protective. Everywhere from not being able to fly my ship into the ground, combat seems weak. The only time I ever died was in space when I had sort of a starter or beginner level ship, but once I got my upgrades and everything taken care of, I'm virtually unstoppable. Don't be afraid to give some advanced options or modes to let some of the more hardcore players jump in and enjoy the game too. Maybe a separate mode altogether, like a hardcore mode that promises challenge, rewards advanced play, rewards survival, and doesn't have an identity crisis on whether it wants to be a survival game or doesn't. Planets can be creepy sometimes, and space is huge, and I never really felt a sense of danger. I never really felt a sense of dread. And with some of the procedurally generated aliens that you come across, it'd really be nice to have a little bit of sense of danger to go along with my experience. Why don't we get to point 2? And I think this is something that's really lacking for No Man's Sky, regardless of any false marketing or anything like that. No Man's Sky really needs a social aspect to it, whether a cooperative or adversarial or something a little bit looser like Dark Souls. I really like the chance to be able to drop in or drop out with some of my buddies with maybe some requirements, like maybe I should have crafted a specific item or something to that effect. I'd like to very much be able to journey together with my friends or even just random people. Maybe that's something that portals can do, that once you go through a portal, it puts you right next to somebody random and you're stuck there forever. That's kind of a risk versus reward type of system, and I think that's a pretty good idea. Also, if we want to go grand, in a video I did previous, I talked about what a MMO-like aspect or a adversarial aspect would be like, and you have to look at games like PlanetSide 2, which I think has a really grand scope of thing, really huge maps. I could just picture No Man's Sky multiplayer on an adversarial level taking place in like one star system or just a handful of star systems where 50 or 100 players can play in, build bases, protect territories, take over space stations, things like that. I think that would be a really good experience for No Man's Sky. Another place where No Man's Sky kind of lacks is its significance. So I did my review for the game, and that was one of my biggest core flaws of the game, is that it lacked significance. Space is huge, it has a lot of deep lore, but at the end of it all, the journey is there without seemingly a destination. What I did like about No Man's Sky is that when situations kind of popped up randomly, whether it's as small as warping into a space battle in a new star system, or warping into a star system when the anomaly is there, or if you're in a star system and the anomaly just kind of pops up randomly, or when you arrive to the Atlas for the first time, those felt like significant events, and I want to see more of that. And I think the game can be even more significant if you use the strengths that it already has. You have 3 or 4 races already built into the game, and you have all these characters that seemingly have no life or no meaning or no purpose other than to just be there for a face to look at, and I really like to see a lot more done with these. I imagine something procedural, like you're on a planet and you get attacked by a bunch of rogue Korvax or something to that effect. I like to see a little bit more significance with the actual characters of the game, and a lot more battle with them and a lot more dealings with them that are a lot more meaningful and significant. Speaking of significance, I really feel like the game needs a true menace. We talked about a finger quotes malevolent force that existed in the game, and that kind of feels like it does, but none of it feels really impactful at all. So something like the Sentinels, or even worse, like create a new menace that is completely threatening to the galaxy, and when you see them or you encounter them, they're really dangerous, and taking them out as a reward or something to that effect. It really just needs not a malevolent force, but a villain, a true villain, like the Flood in Halo. It really needs a significant, meaningful adversary. The fourth point, use the scale of the game. The game has such a scale about it. It's huge, but I feel like that strength isn't played to. Things like large-scale wars that you don't even have to involve yourself in. You can just utilize them as a backdrop, but use it as an option. If I want to jump in this war, that's cool. If I don't, it's fun to sit here and look at. The omission of the faction system that was promised before the game launched kind of really hurts because it sort of removed the activity from the galaxy and now it's just sort of space with planets. I'd like to see actual stars be put into the game again because right now they're just kind of wallpapered onto the side of the star system. You'll never be able to truly go there. And I think that's kind of sad because I've heard the words focus testing or read the words focus testing from Sean Murray so much. And using focus testing really just kind of feels like a cop-out, and you're really only just looking at a small group of certain kinds of gamers, or how do you even know? And with No Man's Sky making such a big splash, regardless of Metacritic and regardless of refund hijinks and stuff like that, you can't be focusing on a small group of folks when really the bigger, more consensus of that wants a deeper game than what is actually present. Using giant structures, I see just a giant structure here or there, or a giant landmass, and to me that's what I'm thinking of sci-fi book covers. I want large buildings, large space structures like gigantic space stations, whether they're alive or derelict. When I see big sort of procedurally generated landmasses that are there just for the sake of beauty, they're not really doing enough functionality wise. There's no tangibility to those things, and I really think the game would do great if you play to the scale of the game. And finally, the fifth and final one. Over the course of development, I've heard Sean say something that I think this is my biggest concern with him, and it always was, even before I got a hold of the game, is he likes to say the words, "It's not core to the game." And when people got a hold of the actual game and figured out what the core of it is, if the core was actually getting to the core of the galaxy, it meant nothing. There was no significance there. There was no reward there. There was no special thing there. And holding too tightly to a core concept of a game like this, where emergent gameplay really needs to come out, is only limiting yourself and limiting the game. People like a beginning, a middle, and an end to their games, sure, but if you look at a game like Minecraft, emergent gameplay is king there. It was king before they even patched in things like the Ender World and the Ender Dragon. None of that stuff was needed, and even when they do those things, and they complete, finger quotes, the game, there's nothing needed, there's nothing extra to be had, but you got a little sense of fulfillment there, and then you got cast back into the game. That's something that No Man's Sky doesn't do. So my advice is, forget or improve the core of the game. Let it go and start focusing on the emergent gameplay aspect and how you can improve that aspect of the game, because you have a blank palette right now in what No Man's Sky is. It is a palette to build upon for emergent gameplay experiences. And I've got about 100 hours into the game already, and my emergent experience is there, but it lacks something meaningful. It lacks significance. My hand is being held all the time. I can't share it with a friend. There's not enough situations that can pop up to really sell this galaxy to me. For as big as the game is, the scale isn't enough, and the core concept of the game feels limiting to what it could really be. Folks, if you agree or if you have other things that you'd like to add, please pop them into the comments below. And if you found this informational, or if you liked the idea of what we did here, go ahead and give me a like and subscribe, and hang out for future content here on the channel. And as always, see you next time.